Hi everyone, welcome back again after 5 years. I'm sorry I've been away for so long, but I was in uni, so I didn't really have much time. While I've been away, I've been working on this Sweetener-inspired Ariana Grande doll, which I actually think it came out quite nice if I say so myself. But anyway, today we're back with a new project, which I'm quite excited about, since today we're making one of the most special, interesting, amazing artists. Everyone say it with me. Hottogr. Exactly. We're making Chappell Roan. And today's victim will be this operetta from Monster High Generation 1, which is actually quite ironic since we will be using a Southern iconic queen to make another. So yeah, let's get the doll prepped and ready for customization. Okay, here we have our queen operetta, and we need to take off her hair because it was really sticky. It was one of the worst experiences of my doll repainting journey. So I just went straight ahead with some scissors and cut it all off. Okay, so as much as I love operetta and her face sculpt and everything, the texture of the design, if you can say, doesn't really work for my design, so I had to remove it. This lovely piece right here, yeah, it doesn't work for my design. So I'm using epoxy sculpt to cover it up, and the same with the body. And this was actually painful because I really liked the sculpt, and I think the designers at Monster High did a really good job, so it felt bad. So here we have it, all covered up and smooth. And now I need to sand it to make it even smoother. And of course I already have paint on my fingers and we didn't even start painting. So then when I had it all sanded down, I started painting, which of course was a mistake because I don't really think when I do things. Because I don't know if you remember, but the same exact thing happened to me with my short and sweet Sabrina Carpenter inspired doll. So we needed to first do the patterns using some masking tape, and then we can paint the body. And for some reason, I left a piece of paper there. I don't know why.
Okay, so here I have the body painted. Now I'm gonna use this paint for the gloves, which I'm gonna use fabric anyway, but I like the hands to be painted at least. So yeah.
Looking back, this step was really unnecessary, but since I already had the paint out, I painted the shoes. And then I went in with a brush and just added some blush to the knees and different parts of the body because I really like the effect that it has on dolls. And then my plan was to spray the doll with some matte varnish, but surprise, surprise, there were some bugs outside of my window, so if I opened the window to spray the dolls, my room would be filled with bugs. So yeah, we didn't do that.
Tomorrow.
The next day I used Vallejo acrylic matte varnish to spray the doll, and to be honest, you should really wear a mask using this product, but since I'm so strong and tough and I live life to the fullest, I didn't do that. But you really should, actually. 30 minutes later I could start painting the face, which was actually quite easy since it was a black canvas. And oh yeah, by the way, my hair is on all of the shots because I don't know how to use a camera for some reason, but yeah, hope you like my hair. But anyways, I started with the eyeshadow using some pan pastels, and I tried to go for one of her classic looks with the blue eyeshadow and the really hot pink blush and white face. And I also tried to give her super straight super straight eyebrows because, well, on the looks she wears she always have straight eyebrows, and for some reason Mr. Super Clear only worked on half the face like really well and the other half was rough. So I had to reapply it sometimes, and I really used a lot of sealant with this. But anyway, now I'm painting the scleras of the eyes with white acrylic paint. And I'm also painting on the eyeshadow with blue wash paints, which, by the way, if you're looking into getting into this world of customizing those, really look into wash paints, because they lay really flat and it's really easy to paint with them. And for a nice glossy iridescent look, I'm using these iridescent paints by Arteza, which ended up looking a bit darker than I anticipated, so I just went over it with some white iridescent paint. But yeah, I just kept going back and forth with the eyeshadow, then the squares of the eyes, then the lips, then the... I worked all of the face at all the time, if you can say like that. You can see me painting on the eyebrows with that same wash paint. And then I went with a pink metallic paint for the lips, which I hated it, so don't really pay attention to it because it's not gonna stay there very long. Here you can see me painting on the white I said before to make it lighter. And then I painted the pupils of the eyes using blue. And again, sorry for my hair, because it really is on every single shot. Here you can see me really defining the crease of the eye with a dark blue watercolor pencil. And just painting on some details of the eyes and the eyebrows using the same watercolor pencils. Here I'm adding the shadows and the highlights to the eyes using different shades of blue. And this is all I could do with 3 layers of sealant, which is not bad, but since I used paint it really doesn't count. And as you can see, I changed some things like the lips and a bit of the eyes, because I wasn't feeling it. And my design called for some hot pink bottom lashes, so with a steady hand and some wash paint, I did that. And now off camera I did the details like the eye shines and the shines of the lips, which I use silver paint for that.
Okay, so here I have the design, and as you can see there's a lot of pieces. I'm gonna start by making the back, which is like a casual, her music video, anyway, like a Monster of the Black Lagoon sort of thingy. And I also will make some earrings, which are inspired by her look as the Statue of Liberty. And yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. Here's the final sketch. I'll put here a colored version so you can see my vision.
Off camera I made this, the purse out of foam. And using foam I also did the shoulder pads inspired by her MTV performance, where she was dressed as the knight. And first I gave it a black base coat, which of course I spilled and I had to clean it all. But after that I went in with some silver paint to give it a metallic finish. And then I painted the rest of the accessories. And painting all of these tiny accessories for some reason was really nice and relaxing, so I will definitely be doing more of those accessories on future projects. A bit of continuity error here, but I traced the pattern lines on the tape and now I'm cutting it off with scissors. This was my first attempt on the bodice, which is inspired by her tiny desk look where she performed there. Basically what I did was grab some ribbons and sew them to a piece of fabric following the pattern shape. And I also transferred the other pieces to the same fabric. I sewed all the pieces together and I didn't top stitch them since I felt like it looked nice and clean. And to hem it, I did the exact same technique I did with the corset on my Sabrina doll, which is basically grab a piece of light fabric like this organza here, sew it all across leaving a hole to turn it out, and then top stitch them in place. I wanted to give the skirt a furry hem. That sounded so bad. Anyway, I grabbed a pastel and some gloves and I just went to town painting the fur. And then when I washed it off, it all came out white, like I didn't even do anything. So I just kept on repeating the same exact process, and at the end of the day, it turned out the shade of pink that I wanted. And when it all dried, I pinned it to an already made skirt I had. This was actually a Princess Bubblegum custom I did a couple of years ago, but I didn't really like them, but the skirt was nice, so yeah. For the hair, I used acrylic yarn in this copper redhead shade color, which I brushed and strained it, and then I just went to town with some hot glue, gluing the hair on. And since yarn only gives you a certain length, I used a piece of fabric and I just glued the wefts there. And to manipulate the hot glue, I have a glass of cold water next to it, and I just dip my finger into it. Then I press the hot glue so I don't burn myself, obviously. As you can see here, when I add the extension, the hair really takes length, and it's so full and beautiful, and I love this technique so much. And it's really cheap because it's yarn and I don't have to pay a lot of money for nylon hair. And here I heated up a metal chopstick with a flat iron, and I just kept on curling tiny sections. For some reason, in the camera it looks really yellow, orangey. It looks bad, but in person it looks more copper. I don't know how to explain it, but it just looks better. Here I'm styling the hair, which I'm basically combing the roots so they blend together. And yeah, here we go. Then I dressed the doll, and after some off-camera details, she's done.